Hi guys, quick video just before lunch. Okay, yesterday evening I alluded to very shortly, not with much detail, to the so-called second CCMA jab case. Now once again I want to give you a little bit of background before I speak about that. But the case of Mr. Gideon Cook there from Schalk, the case came before Commissioner Peter Venter in Sasolburg. It related to not dismissal, it related to unfair suspension. But let me give you a little bit of background to where we are at this point in time with CCMA. Okay, first off, the CCMA my apologies. Let's use the old system. First off, I want to explain to you, and feel free to contact the CCMA itself, the administration at CCMA head office, and ask them these questions. I see there's a lot of very clever people running around making up all kinds of stories about CCMA, and they have a friend in CCMA and a friend here and a friend there. Yeah, everybody has a friend in the CCMA and a friend in Jesus. We're just simply not interested in hearing that you have now all of a sudden a friend in CCMA. The CCMA is a huge, vast organization covering the entirety of South Africa. For you to tell me you have a friend in CCMA and he will do this and that and the following for you, well, in that instance, at the start of my case, I bring that to the Commissioner's attention, and I put it on record already. It makes the whole process reviewable, should the need arise. Okay, but what I want you to do is to fact check me on these things. I want you to call CCMA head office, and just a moment, head office, and at the head office inquire from them as to what is called red line cases. These cases relate to CCMA cases that are definitely COVID related. There's a whole division at the head office CCMA just dealing with COVID related cases. Okay. Some of the less informed people think that this is a lie I'm telling. Guys, just simply fact check me. Okay. The red line cases, the COVID cases, are all brought before a certain group of commissioners that were especially trained for these cases. Whether that training was good or not, that is still to be decided. It's interesting to see that the case of Mulderij, and I've stepped off that thing now, was not done by a red line commissioner, strangely enough, but I leave it at that. Okay, back to Gideon Cook's case. Gideon Cook is a client of mine. We were consulting for quite some time before the case came up at CCMA. He was the classic example of where an employee was refused access to the workplace, and therefore he followed my advice to log and time his arrivals at work. We also wrote a letter to the employer to say to them, in terms of Section 15 of the Consolidated Regulations, COVID, as published last year, the employee cannot pay, and the employee cannot be put on unpaid suspension, and therefore what is going on here is unfair labor practice that you are doing. He referred the case to CCMA, and unfortunately, on paper, he lost. But here are the interesting facts relating to this. Number one, he is in the award described as a security officer. He's not a security officer. He is the safety officer at his workplace. He is the person doing the risk assessments for COVID. And in the risk assessment for COVID, it was found that the position that he occupies is not a high risk, and therefore it does not need any further issues relating to COVID, other than the usual NCID rules of signing in and wearing a mask and all those things. Okay, so that's the first big error that the Honourable Commissioner from Bloemfontein made. Secondly, the employer goes so far in the award to admit that they indeed realized that it was wrong not to pay the employee for sitting at home, and he was indeed paid in full for January month. So we won. We were correct. The employer did budge. The employer did pay him his money, although he was sitting at home on their behest. So in terms of the technicalities of law, we were correct from day one, from start. The commissioner then he goes and he finds himself very quickly as a make-believe judge of the Constitutional Court, and he tries to give an exposition as to his view of what is written in the Constitution and what is not written, and the interpretation thereof. That is not for a commissioner. And a commissioner, not even an ordinary court of law, not even a magistrate's court, even a regional court, has jurisdiction to rule in any way on constitutionality of anything, right? That remains the domain of a higher court. In this instance, it would have been either the Labour Court or, need be, the Constitutional Court. Okay. We went through the entirety of the award. It's quite a long award. It was well written. I must give it to Peter Venter, Commissioner Peter Venter. It's a much better written award than the nonsense that came out of the previous case. He does a lot of, you can see he did a lot of research, and it shows in his award, but still, he ventures into waters that was never used to be ventured into. As such, we are contemplating whether we will take this case on review, the unfair suspension case. However, it has actually become moot, and I'm going to describe to you why I'm saying that. We referred to the case of unfair suspension because the employee was not paid for the time that he was sitting at home, but the employer indeed budged and paid even before we went to CCMA and the case was called. So in other words, we won. The objective that we were looking for in terms of the CCMA actually happened before the CCMA could even hear the case. So for us to go to Labour Court, to go and ask for the Labour Court to intervene in something where we attained what we set out in the first place, in any event, to my mind, is a little bit disingenuous. And it's just simply not worth the cost. In the meantime, Gideon was then charged disciplinary for related but not similar incidents or relating to this, and a disciplinary hearing was held in his absence, and he was indeed dismissed. And that case, we spoke this morning, that case will be referred as an unfair dismissal to CCMA now, and we will go and test Gideon too. Gideon Kok, jy's 'n flippin soldaat man. Ek het die grootste respek vir jou. Jy kry vlek op hierdie stadium van al die kante af, en die media het 'n klomp goed oor jou te sê, en hulle weet eers wat in jou saak aangegaan het nie. Maar jy's 'n soldaat man. Ek sal saam met jou in die flippin loopgrawe gaan lê, en ek sal saam met jou veg. So yes, Gideon and myself and my team will definitely be taking this case then to CCMA as unfair dismissal. People are asking me, Schalk, but who is your team? I've expounded on that many times previously in videos. Here up north, I work very closely with the attorneys firms of Yaru Vogel Inc., whereas one of his attorneys, his senior attorneys, is my personal attorney for work in the Free State. I work very closely with Riona Khalid, and then I have 2 or 3 secondary attorneys firms that I would utilize if Yaru or Riona is simply not available. Down in the Free State, and I've said that often, I work with Creer Venter in the north, in northern part of the province, and in the south I work with Honey Attorneys Incorporated. They are situated there at Noordstad Shopping Centre. Then I have attorneys that I use on an ad hoc basis in Cape and across the country that I regard as my team, because if I pick up my telephone and I call them and I refer a case to them, they run with it. Okay. Nothing strange, nothing weird. I'm not going to name specific advocates at the bar that we sometimes utilize for specialized work, simply because we use them for specialized work. One extremely good advocate that we often use for cases relating to municipalities down in the Free State is Stefan Grobler, very well known. And we also use Steven Rautenbach down in the bar at Bloemfontein, because they specialize in municipal law. I'm not a specialist in municipal law. Therefore, I would rather use a specialist advocate if we do cases around that. That's just a small sneak peek into this whole issue. As I said, we are definitely then on the warpath relating to Gideon's case. However, for very simple and obvious reasons, we do not contemplate at this point in time to take the finding of the CCMA commissioner in the unfair suspension case on review, because we've actually attained what we set out to do. Although the commissioner, for some reason, it's a very strange award in that the commissioner finds the employer not to have committed an unfair labour practice, although the employer themselves admit that they did commit an unfair labour practice and even rectified it. But be it as it may, this is then relating to the second case, Gideon Kok, there down in Sasolburg. That relates to his case. There's a third case and a fourth case. Once again, I'm not going to divulge too much at this point in time, once again, because I do not want an issue like we had with the Mulderij case, where the case is literally stolen, because that is what happened, literally stolen off my plate, and it's now, I don't know where it is. We will have to see if it ever reaches Labour Court. Thank you, guys. I must run. I have quite an amount of work still to be done for the afternoon. Enjoy your lunch, and maybe I pop in tonight again. Thank you so much.